My daughter was standing in the balcony and her friends were playing in the garden. And you see, they were celebrating some kind of picnic over there. And when they saw my daughter, they tried to tempt her that we have we had got some very nice pastry and you just missed it. And just by that thought itself, she started salivating and she imagined that pastry. And what do you call that? मुंह में पानी आ गया. And she even asked me to get that pastry. This ripple of desire that rises in the consciousness is called vritti. If you consider your mind to be like a calm and steady lake, and as you throw a pebble in the lake and see that the ripple start to rise, and after some time it subsides and the calmness is restored. This ripple that arises in the lake is like the ripple of vritti that arises in the consciousness. Rather, it is like the ripple of desire that arises in the mind, and consciousness is just illuminating factor over here. It just illumines the mind. Likewise, several vrittis arise in the mind and subside. Mind is always full of these vrittis, these ripples. The people who have lot of these vrittis are generally very disturbed kind of people. They are jumping, their mind is like monkey mind, jumping from one topic to another, then to another, without giving any room for stillness in their mind. They are always in the disturbed state. It is not necessary that some external cue is required to make arise this kind of ripple in your mind. Your memory itself can rekindle it. Suddenly, all of a sudden, you're sitting and you are reminded about a tasty rasgulla. So as soon as your mind, that thought of rasgulla comes in your mind immediately takes shape of that rasgulla, and you have a mental image that is created inside you. This is called vritti tadakar. Whatever your mind imagines or desires, it immediately takes shape that. It assumes the shape of the desired object, and it yearns for to achieve that object of desire. It could be just something as trivial as having a cup of tea or having a rasgulla, or something very tedious like having a certain kind of girlfriend or some achievement. But overall, the aim is to unite with the object of desire. Like in case of rasgulla, the mind has taken shape of rasgulla, and you run to get that rasgulla from somewhere. Let's say you have it in your fridge, you open the fridge, take the rasgulla. As soon as you see the rasgulla, your first sense of vision gets satisfied that you saw that, and then you put your hands into it and you just eat it. And when you eat it, your sense of taste and sense of smell, all those grasp the subtle matter out of rasgulla. These subtle matter is called tanmatras. Let me explain. Like when you see something, okay, and your eyes are seeing that object, and from whatever your eyes have captured, you form uh, you form a form in your mind. That visual form is the visual tanmatra. It is called roop. Likewise, when you smell something, then that sense of smell creates a tanmatra of smell in your mind. Then when you taste something, then that sense of taste, that peculiar taste creates a tanmatra of smell in your mind. Likewise, the sense of taste creates the tanmatra of touch in your mind. And using all those five senses, your mind creates a subtle object in your mind and puts it into your memory. Okay, and that memory is a subtle form of the physical object. And when in some future time you tend to grasp that same object, you actually are looking for that object that creates all the senses, all the sensory perceptions similar to what you have already experienced. And in this way, the object of your perception, when it matches with the memory, the memorized form, then you feel a level of satisfaction, and the vritti and the ripple that has arisen in your mind, it subsides. So if you look closely into this whole episode of how the vrittis arise and how they subside, you see it's a whole mind game. It is created in the mind, it subsides in the mind. In fact, it never touches the physical object. So it's totally the mind game. In fact, when this is a tendency from my childhood. When I was young, I used to like very crispy samosas in Mumbai, and but not every day I had that much luxury to buy samosa in during my lunch time. So what I used to do, I used to think in my mind that the feeling that I get after having those samosas, that feeling of satisfaction was actually clue to subside that vritti that arises in my mind. So every day I used to it kindled in my mind. If I had samosas, then it would feel so good. And just after that, I used to remember the feeling of satisfaction that I had after having samosas, and that vritti subsides. So it's basically your mind is feeding your mind. Your mind creates the impulse, and your mind itself satisfies. In Chinese symbology, this whole world is denoted as a snake which is eating itself up. It's a very creepy kind of symbology if you see that the animal itself is eating itself. But if you look closely, this physical world is in fact a big organism. It's a big organism, and you take any process, how the whole thing is going on. You eat some plant, that plant has arisen from the soil, you eat it up, and then you defecate in the morning. That again goes into the soil. From that soil, it becomes fertilizer, and then again used to that plant reuses it and creates the grains that you eat. So this way the whole cycle goes on. So it feels like a part of planet is eating another part of planet and sustaining itself, just like that snake is eating itself up. So that's the physical world actually. Likewise, in the mental world, it's the mind that is feeding on itself, and that's the mental world. So this kind of vritti about the worldly object, or rather vishayas, it is called vishayakar vritti. Vishayakar vritti is is a desire for the worldly things. Like you feel like eating rasgulla, or you feel like eating samosa, you feel like having a girlfriend, or going to a movie, or watching some cinema, playing cricket, or something like that. All these desires of the world, they create uh, an impulse, a ripple in your mind, causing the vishayakar vritti, and your mind takes shape of your desired object. And till the time you don't get that object, you are in an agitated mode. And depending on what is your what is your innate nature of your ego, of your mind, you'll take actions to fulfill your desire. If you are sattvic, then the course of actions taken by you will be different. If you are rajasic, then your course of actions will be different. And if you are tamasic, it will be very different from what other type of people do. But in short, you will take these actions to fulfill your desires. Now, these desires are not always a very trivial of kind that you don't have to think about it. Like having a samosa or having a rasgulla is very trivial kind of desire. And it may so happen that you yourself consciously subside this desire on account of something a higher, a noble kind of desire. For example, let's say you have vowed for a weight loss program, then even if you think of rasgulla, you will definitely think of rasgulla more during those days when you are on the weight loss program. than any other day, and you will basically you'll forego this kind of lower desires for something higher, like gaining a beautiful and good body, which is definitely a good thing. But there are situations when the vishaya that you are thinking about, the worldly object that you are thinking about, is not something for which you have enough resources. And for such things, you may just be, even if you work hard, you won't get to that point. So in that case, it becomes very important to subside those desires by means of this mental experiment, because the mind itself is the feed of mind. In the same way, your vrittis can be satisfied totally by your own mind without having the actual thing in the physical world. Now you may say this is a kind of hypnosis, a kind of self-suggestion that I'm talking about. But let me tell you, it is not so. In fact, the requirement for the physical thing to be satisfied in the mind is actually a kind of hypnosis. You you are kind of hypnotized into thinking that if you want some flour, then you need to pluck that flour and put it in front of your eyes, then only you are satisfied. This is a kind of hypnosis. In fact, this is a kind of disease. You can be as much satisfied with that flower even if you have not plucked it. Let it be there in the garden, on that trunk, and let it subside on its own without you plucking that rose and putting it in your shirt, or putting it artificially into your bedroom and just looking into it. So that looking at it in the sense of acquisition, this is a kind of disease, is it not? And what I am telling you is a kind of dehypnosis, a process of dehypnosis. Even if that object is there somewhere, still you are satisfied. You are not limited to the property you assume, the car you drive, or the body that you have. All these things are wrong notions of humanity that creates various problems. As soon as you open up these uh, these boundaries, the whole world opens for you. And these vishayakar vrittis, they are they are like, you will have tons and tons of it daily. And even psychologists say that you will have 99% of the same thoughts every day, repetitive. And these repetitive thoughts, they take away all your mental energy. It will almost exhaust you of all your energy. And this is what happens every day. Still, we just keep on thinking about these objects of desire. And really speaking, what happens once that desire has arisen and you have obtained that object of desire? For few seconds, the lake of your mind is calm. There is no ripple into it. There is no desire into your mind. And this is the time when you are actually enjoying it. You are not actually enjoying the fulfillment of desire in the last step. You are enjoying the calmness of it, the few seconds, a few moments of calmness in your mind, which has come with the lack of any desire. And what happens? Suddenly, you get one more desire, and again the vritti rises in your mind, and that vritti, it again subsides, and a few moments of calmness comes in your mind. Then again third desire comes. So in fact, those small gaps when there is no vritti in your mind, that is the moment that you are actually cherishing for. You are not actually looking for grasping that object, because you know that if something is over there somewhere, or it's in your pocket, it doesn't really make much difference. It is only in your mind that you have that sense of satisfaction for some time. That is actually what you are desiring for. And when you learn to extend that period of calmness in your mind, you actually achieve the goal. Being satisfied is the key, and that is what it means to subside the vishayakara vrittis in your mind.